I'll be honest. I'm quite harsh on Marvel. Rightfully so, in my opinion. But I am harsh. But I don't think it's too much to say that this movie has plenty to talk about. So let's jump right into it. The pros. Absolutely stunning visual effects and sound mixing. Production wise, this film reigns supreme over every other Marvel movie, in my opinion. Yes, it is 2022, and there are a lot of technical advances, that have happened. It's not fair to compare this Doctor Strange movie to Iron Man 3. It's been a long time. But every single aspect, visually and audibly, for this film was a step above the rest. Also, it's important to note that Sam Raimi, assuming that's how you pronounce it, absolutely killed this film. I mean, this was strong, incredibly unique in the vision and the technique. It was a more scary movie. Um, I put it in air quotes because I'm not sure that it was scary, but it was graphic. It was abrupt. It definitely was its own movie. And I don't know if that's why I enjoyed this movie like I did, but it was Sam Raimi killed it. I mean, this was a fantastic production that is almost, in my opinion, what makes it a very strong Marvel movie. One thing I harp on Marvel a lot for is the fact that originally Marvel was, an action adventure thriller film. Even with characters who have comedy and comedic breaks, it never felt like that was a core aspect of the film. That was just Iron Man being Iron Man. That was just Spider Man being Spider Man. Thor being Thor. They can have comedic breaks without it completely taking away from the film. As of recently, Marvel has gotten to the point where it's not action adventure films anymore. They're action comedies, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that. I went back and watched a few older Marvel movies, partially out of nostalgia, but you can count on two hands the amount of comedic breaks. And they're not even really breaks. There's no pause. They're not like expecting the audience to laugh. It's a quick quip and they move on. It's not completely destroying the flow of the film. In the more recent films, I think that's something that they've really relied too heavily on. Even if Spider Man's a teenager and even if Spider Man's funny, he'll say a line and then they stop the movie so that the audience can laugh at the shitty joke they wrote. I'm going on a tangent. I'll save that for another time. This movie's a welcome reprieve from all that. The moments where you laugh were not pauses in the film, they were completely normal moments. Sure, they expect the audience is going to laugh, but they're not going to stop the entire movie and for room for a laugh track. You know, I really appreciate that. And that's what I think was made Marvel so successful in the past. Obviously, Marvel's Marvel, and I'm about to go on another tangent, so I'm going to stop. But I appreciate that this movie's comedic breaks were not actual breaks and were just polite quips, quick in conversation, and not distractions. Also, the acting in this film, almost everybody gave it their best performance. Um, I say almost everyone because America Chavez was a horrible character. Um, but I'll save that for the cons. Everyone crushed it. Almost everyone crushed it. And I'm obviously biased towards Rachel McAdams. Several of her films I hold in high regard. About Time is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Um, so it's cool seeing her in a Marvel film, and that, probably added half a point to this movie for me. Cons, as I just mentioned, America Chavez. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just a horrible, unlikable, annoying, just character who didn't need to be a character. I don't read the comics and I don't care about her ability and her at all. They could have just had a completely inanimate object that did the exact same thing. To me, she felt unnecessary and she kind of just sucked. Acting wise, it felt really underwhelming. It's hard when you have to compare yourself and in a movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel McAdams and Elizabeth Olsen, but I mean, it. America Chavez was bad, bad. Arguably, I think one of the weakest points of the movie. Another con I have for this movie, and again, trying not to tangent onto Marvel hate, number of cameos. It's something Marvel uses, I think, to drive success of their films, and they always have and they always will because it's tried and true. But I don't care. I don't need 45 cameos. I don't need people in the stands gasping and clapping when their favorite person shows up. Oh my gosh, look. It's Ryan Reynolds. Shut up. It's not. Oh. Okay, not Marvel hate. It's movie hate. Cameos aren't necessary. They're not necessary to make a good movie. They don't make a movie a movie. There's a lot in here. They're not all necessary. It felt like let's see how many cameos we can throw in. Let's see how many people we can recognize and look at what we're going to put into the universe and we're going to set ourselves up, which is what Marvel's good at. They set themselves up for future films. I don't care. I don't care. However, I'm going to hit you with the biggest con. And that's the con that Marvel has conditioned people to stay for post-credit scenes. Not just one now, two. And the biggest con, probably of the year for me, for any movie, was I had to stay for a second post-credit scene for this movie. And it was fucking horrible. Like, I mean, if I could rate this movie, the second post credit scene was so bad, it makes me want to like give this movie a two. Like and I don't know if they thought it was funny. I don't know if it's a joke, and maybe Sam Raimi's in the same way I am, and he hates these post credit scenes, and he hates the conditioning that was put into fans to watch them and sit in the stands and stare at pointless names for an hour and a half while you're waiting to see the second post credit scene. That's nothing. Man, it's bad. It was horrible. I was angry. I felt led astray, run amok, betrayed, disgusting. Overall, even with all my tirades and lack of liking for Marvel, I don't think it's saying too much for me to say that this is probably the best Marvel movie to date. Almost. I mean, for me, this ranks up there with like Iron Man 1 and Thor Ragnarok. It is a very special film that has encapsulated everything that I expect from Marvel and that I want from Marvel. It's a fantastic picture that felt like it crushed every metric of being a good movie. As a self proclaimed movie critic, I think I'm going to give this movie a 9. I saw a lot of hate for this film, and I think it came from annoying Marvel fans who think their movie series is the greatest movie series of all time, and they expect this complete formula that has no change to it, and it's the same thing every time, and you spend money, and they make billions watching the same movie over and over with a different character. Those were the people I think upset. This movie was a thriller from start to finish. And personally, I'm going to give it a 9 as well. The horror slash scary aspects of this film really drove home how unique and actually incredible this work was. I think this is a very strong movie individually, and I hope it sets up more for Sam Raimi because this was It's worth a watch. Even if you don't like Marvel films and you might not keep up with the TV shows, this is just a solid movie. Another movie review, obviously, next week. But I think that's it. Um, in the meantime, screw Marvel, but go see this movie.